Hi everyone, my name is Era and I'm the host of the Tamil Creator Podcast. I chat with creators from all over the world to share their stories and discuss hot topics in a way that I hope inspires, educates, and entertains you.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
Hi everyone, this is Era, the host of the Tamil Creator Podcast. As you know, I've been working really hard to deliver great guests and good content to you. I need your help with two things. Number one, hit that subscribe button if you're listening, especially on Apple or Spotify. Number two, go to thetamilcreator.com and spend 2 minutes to take the What Kind of Creator Are You quiz to find out your creator type. Awareness is the first step that will guide you in your journey to more possibilities and potential as a creator. Thank you so much, guys. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Tamil Creator. This is your host, Era, and a very super special guest on the podcast today, none other than Priya Ragu. And for you music fans, if you haven't heard of her and you live under a rock, Priya Ragu is a Tamil Swiss artist. She makes uplifting R&B. I've actually only heard of her just recently, but was blown away by her songs. And in her music, she explores kind of her independence while kind of remaining true to her Tamil heritage. Her overnight success has actually been years in the making, and her career has exploded in the last few years with features in Rolling Stone India, BBC, Asian Network, and Vogue, and with Priya being named as an artist to keep an eye on for 2021. So I've done a lot of talking. Let me actually get Priya to talk a bit more about her kind of upbringing and, family and things like that to kind of get things started.
What's good, Arvindan?
What's good?
Thanks for having me.
Oh, sorry. Did you not hear the last part, the question?
What? Oh, did you ask something?
Yeah, sorry. My apologies. What I did was I was going to say, Priya, maybe you can tell the audience who's kind of listening a bit about kind of your family and upbringing. Sorry, I know I blabbed and you kind of missed the question. So
I did. Yeah, okay, so yeah. Well, my name is Priya Ragu. I was born and raised in Switzerland. My brother Jaffna Gold, he produces my songs, and just recently we decided to collaborate with each other, only 3 years ago. Before that, I just had like an 8 to 5 job, was working at Swiss Airlines, and music was a hobby thing. I just did it for fun, and I didn't think that I could make a living out of it. And especially in Switzerland, because we're so far away from the industry. I think so far nobody ever did it internationally. So it's a big thing. It's a huge responsibility as well. So yeah.
Yeah, one of the things I wanted to touch on was, all the articles I read about you, it's kind of you becoming this, big sensation coming out of Switzerland, which is not a music hub per se, like London or the UK.
Yeah.
And the story or the analogy I think of is Drake, because he's from Toronto. Typically in North America, you go to LA if you want to make it big in music or movies. And he said, hey, I'm going to stay in Toronto and I want to be big. So you, I guess, made the trip from Switzerland, you quit your job and you went to New York for I think 6 months to give you a chance to kind of fulfill this dream. So how did you know, or what just made you make that big move? Because you went from, Europe to North America, which is, different cultures, I guess, just in general from a lot of things. So what made you make that move? And, just tell us about that whole decision-making process and that experience.
I mean, I was always doing music. I was always doing featuring for Swiss local artists or background vocals. But I was never really confident enough to do my own music or just to write songs. And I always doubted that side of me. And so I just kind of suppressed my inner voice for a long time. And yeah, because I had a really comfortable life. I had a safe job, my family, cool friends. So I really had nothing to worry about. But this music thing was always there. And people would ask me, when is your song coming out? When are you working on an album? And there was a point where I couldn't go to open mics anymore, jam sessions, because people always ask me these questions, and I felt really uncomfortable. And so I just stopped going for a long time. And but then I don't know, I was just like, I turned 30 and I was like, okay, this can't be it, you know. I guess there's more to life than just work, you know, normal office job. And there's this talent, and I'm just not really appreciating it. And so I was just thinking, what if I give myself a half year time and see what I can come up with? And because so far I was always like doing music in the evening, because during the day I was working, and then I came home, I was tired, and I just had like, I don't know, 1 or 2 hours left. So I couldn't really be creative.
So
And
why New York City though? Like why particularly there? Why not like LA or like some other city?
yeah, because I had a friend in New York. He's a rapper, Odyssey. I met him like 10 years ago at a jazz cafe, and we became friends. And so he was like, hey, I will be on tour. You can have my studio. And I was like, perfect timing. So I just went. I didn't know anybody in the city except him, but he was not in town. So I just went with my notebook, and I had just one goal to write 10 songs and then come back. So the first 5 months I was just hanging around, you know, drinking a lot of coffee and spending my money on shoes and clothes. Yeah, I was just not ready to just sit down and work on songs, you know, because I was just so afraid that, you know, that I feel like that I couldn't do it. So I just didn't sit down. So one day I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna lock myself up, and I'm not going out of the studio until I have a fucking song. So that's what I did. And then I sent the idea to my brother. And then we worked via the voice notes. He was, at that time, he was in Oerlikon in Switzerland. And so, yeah, we sent these files back and forth. And that's how we created like more and more songs.
Yeah, I want to touch on that because in a lot of like the articles out there, you kind of mentioned the importance of your relationship with your brother, who's kind of also a musician, and like it's super unusual to find siblings kind of as musicians together, especially, you know, sometimes there can be kind of this competitive spirit between siblings, but you guys genuinely, especially him, really support you in your career. So tell us a bit more about like your relationship with your brother and kind of that process where I think I watched a video with you guys recently where you did a jam session with I forgot her name. I think she was an Asian musician. Also, like, it was a really great
Griff,
voice.
yeah.
Yes, a really great voice.
Yeah.
And I think your brother is kind of in there as well. So tell us, you know,
He
talk
was
a bit
producing,
more.
yeah.
Yeah, maybe why don't you talk a bit more about your relationship with him?
Yeah, I mean, my brother, he's been doing music for the longest time. Like we both were like, we were brought up in a musical family. My father, he is musically talented as well. He didn't study music, so he plays the tabla, and he just, you know, teached himself. And he organized this band and started to play at Tamil events, you know, Samatividi and Kalyanavidi and all that. And I think in St. Gallen, we were like one of the first Tamil people playing music. So people started to hire us, and I used to sing in the band, and I was only 10 years old, and it was always very difficult to sing Tamil songs for me. So what my parents would do, they would write the lyrics in English, and because I cannot read or write, but I can speak fluently. And so yeah, so I would just stand there with a piece of paper with the lyrics on, and I was just sing the songs. And it's mostly like you know, Collywood songs or Yeka songs. And my brother was on the keys. So that's how we got introduced to music. Like my father, he picked up my first instrument. He picked up the first instrument on my brother, which is the keys. And for me, it was the violin. And there was always music in our house. On weekends, we had jam sessions. All the aunties and uncles, they would come over with their lyric book and sing these songs from Alegra and Vishwanathan and all that. And my brother, he had to memorize all the interludes and prepare for these jam sessions so he could just, play the songs while they're singing. I mean, my brother was very interested in hip hop rap at an early age. And he started to rap when he was like, I don't know, 14 years old. And then he had his band, and then he played concerts, and he was very, very dedicated. And for me, it was just like, I would, watch him grow musically. But for me, it was always like, okay, not confident enough, or I don't know, just not ready, and I would just record myself on the tape, and I would listen again and again and again, and that's how I teach myself how to sing. I didn't have vocal lessons, and my parents were super strict. So when it came to performing on stages and stuff like that, it was not a question.
What got your brother to, because like he had his, I'm assuming it's like his own life, but he decided to kind of join you in New York to kind of, probably to pursue his career as well, but like to kind of support you and be there for you. So
Yeah.
that's like a big move for like a sibling to make. So like what prompted him to kind of join you? Is it did you ask him, or did he just decide to kind of come along for the ride?
I mean, he's been producing for a long time, and I always tried to find somebody else because I thought it was uncool to work with your brother and then be on tour and stuff like that. I was like, no, I want to do my own, path. But then at the end, I couldn't find that right person. And I was thinking, just it can't be a coincidence that my brother is a producer and I'm a singer and we're not working together. That doesn't make sense. So when I went to New York, I was just like, hey, you know what? Let's just try something out, 2 songs, 3 songs, and then we take it from there. And at the beginning, it was difficult because he had his own vision. I had mine. I wanted to be more jazzy and all that. And for him, it was more experimental. So and when we created the first song, I was just not open enough to come up with new things, new sounds and everything. And so we really struggled. And but when we did the second song, I was just like, you know what, maybe it can't be this difficult, maybe I just have to trust the process, trust my brother and his vision. So I was just like, okay, you know what, do what you want, I'm just gonna trust you completely. And that's when he had like confidence to come up with something new.
That's awesome. One of the things that I found interesting as well was your dad or your family, like your parents are like traditional in the sense that like they wanted you to work a traditional job and, find something that's stable versus something that's a bit more unpredictable, which is, being a musician. But your dad loved music and he was musically inclined. So I find it
Yeah.
ironic that he knew that you loved it. He also loves it, but, he didn't want you to do this as a career for the longest time. But I found it also cool that later on he said, what A.R. Rahman did with bringing Western elements into Indian music, you're
Yeah.
doing that by bringing Indian elements into Western music, which I thought was cool that
Right.
he said
That
that.
was
So
quite deep. Yeah. I
yeah,
was
so
surprised
I
myself.
was like, wow, that's really good. So tell us now kind of the evolution of kind of how your dad views your music. I mean, obviously success makes it easier, but
Yeah.
talk about a bit about your relationship with your parents and kind of how they view your music and maybe your brothers as well. Now that you guys, both their kids are into music, which is maybe something they didn't envision moving to Switzerland. So
Yeah, they were like not one child, but 2 children of mine are into music. Like,
yeah,
what the hell?
yeah,
uh, yeah, I mean, they came in the early 80s to Switzerland. They didn't speak the language, and and created this life for us. And then one day we come and be like, hey, we want to become a musician. I mean, I do get their, you know, how they're worried about this. And especially also in Switzerland, we're not in the States or UK where things are a bit more possible when it comes to music. And it's not just my parents, but also Swiss people, like my environment, my working place. Everybody was like, hey, I think it's really difficult with music, isn't it? How do you even like, where do you want to go with this, because it was so it didn't have any future in their eyes, especially because it's in English, because Swiss German had like more success in Switzerland than English. And if they want to listen to English music, then they would listen to musicians from the States or UK, but not from a Swiss artist, So it made it even more and more difficult. But to come back to your question, my parents, they were very, as I said, like against it at the beginning. But then at the time, they really realized that, they just have to let it go. And they were like, hey, as long as you have the safe job, you can do whatever you want, And that's what I did. I just, because in a way, I also was looking for validation from my parents. And of course, at the end of the day, I could have been like, whatever, it's my life and I'm going to do whatever I want to. But I just wanted to have their blessings, And so I just balanced both of the worlds together, to have this job and this life and to be this daughter they wanted me to be, and still do my thing.
Yeah, which is hard.
Which is hard, yeah. And so basically, I never really wrote songs before 2017.
Wow, crazy.
So it was more like, collaborations and stuff like that, but I never took it seriously. But in 2017, when I wrote my first song, they, in Switzerland, they right away played it in the radio. And so I'm really blessed, actually, yeah.
Yeah, it was when you're talking about your story, I think of like my best friend, he's an actor, but like for the longest time he was doing engineering, but he quit after 1 year. He didn't tell his parents, but he was secretly like auditioning, and they didn't find out until they saw him on TV, and they were so mad. Like they didn't like they had a bad relationship for like a couple of years. But then after the parents' friends started saying, "Hey, isn't that your son on TV?" When they started seeing him, that validated that, hey, maybe my son made the right choice. It's funny, even though like he was already becoming somewhat a little bit successful, his parents only accepted his choice after they got external validation that, hey, my friend.
Exactly.
So I don't know if that was the same thing for you.
Yeah, same. But I just like wonder why we always have to lie about things, to our parents. Like when I went to the States, I told them that I was on a business trip. I didn't tell them that I quit my job.
Oh, that's so funny.
And they were like, it's a bit a long business trip, 6 months. What is it about? I was like, yeah, I'll tell you when I'm back. So yeah, it's just it makes it more easier, you don't have these confrontations about why you're quitting and where you want to go with this, and what about the money and all that. So I think you're better off lying.
Well, even though your parents, like, like you have to lie and stuff. So I only heard Good Love 2.0, like maybe, like I said, 2-3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I'm not saying this because we're on like talking now, but I've been playing that song on repeat along with some other songs for like the last 2-3 weeks. Amazing song. But it was also cool that I found out that, part of, I don't know if it's the whole reason, but the song was inspired by your parents' love story, which I thought was really cool because, I don't know, I just kind of like, when I was listening to the song, I never thought that. Then I started like doing a bit of research, and I think you mentioned it somewhere. So can you maybe talk a bit about that? Like yeah, if it indeed was inspired by your parents' love story and like, how you came up with that song. 'Cause that's a banger.
Yeah, I mean, my parents, when they got together in Jaffna, their parents were against it. So they really had to, you know, how do you say, fight for love. And when we wrote the song, we wanted to actually shoot the music video in Jaffna, in their hometown. And but the director, he was from Mumbai, and he was like, okay, I think it could be a bit difficult to go there and then shoot without getting any troubles. So we were thinking, what's the closest to Jaffna, like what area is the closest? So we're like, okay, probably Goa. So yeah, and then I just via Instagram, I scouted the talents, the stylist, the producer, everyone, and then we met in Goa for the first time. It was about 10 people, and it was like one of my best experience when we shot the video. And yeah.
I think in the music video you're wearing a sari with, or like a dress or something with like Tamil letters on it, right?
Yeah,
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 that's pretty cool.
exactly.
That's pretty cool. Why did you call the song Good Love 2.0?
Because there was a Good Love 1.0. Yeah, because this song, I mean, from all the songs now from the upcoming project, this one we were working for the longest time. And it was because we participated at a contest in Switzerland with this Good Love 1.0, and we didn't win. And they were like, they were giving some feedbacks about the song, and we knew that we have to work on the song, but we didn't know what it was. And for the longest time, it was like more than a year, we just put it aside. We took it out again, we worked on it. And so just because we knew that there's something special about the song, and I'm really glad that we didn't, leave that aside.
That's awesome. Um,
Yeah.
Another part of kind of growing up Tamil is, it's not necessarily true for everybody, but typically parents are really strict, especially with females. So, like just immigrant Tamil parents in general, immigrant parents. But I know that I used to resent my dad initially when I was young because he was so strict and I couldn't do much. But looking back, my perspective has kind of changed just because I see that, parents are just people that kind of had children while they were still figuring things out. And obviously, new person, new country. So I know you kind of talked about this as well, but has your perspective changed on kind of, how you view your strict upbringing to kind of how you view things now, looking back now that you're an adult, you're kind of, successful musician, just, yeah, how do you view your
I mean,
upbringing looking back?
I did get it, like at that time anyway, like why they were strict. So it was not like, I mean, of course it was messed up. And I wished I had like white parents, but I did see where they were coming from. But and now I can look back and be like, okay, I understand. And but the thing is, it affects differently to other people. Like people with stronger character, maybe they can handle it, but other people, it affects them, in the future. So it's really difficult, actually.
Um, and I think you also mentioned, obviously you live in Switzerland. There is a smaller Tamil diaspora like community there, but sometimes I
Yeah,
forget living in Toronto how like blessed I am to kind of live in Toronto because of like how much activity happens. It's kind of very Tamil centric. Like a lot of big events happen here. There's a lot of business stuff, etc. So I think you mentioned your first trip to Toronto, visiting family, like really opened up your eyes to kind of embracing being Tamil. Like when you're in Switzerland,
yeah,
you didn't embrace it as much, but when you visited family that first trip, you really kind of opened your eyes up and kind of made you reconnect with your Tamil culture. So like maybe tell us a bit
yeah.
more about kind of that trip and just kind of what happened to kind of really open your eyes up?
I mean, when I was growing up in Zengal and there weren't many Tamil families around, maybe like, I don't know, 10. And so I wasn't able to connect with their children because I felt it was a different word somehow. I mean, so I was just having my one or two other friends from different backgrounds, and my parents, they wouldn't let me out, like, to hang out with them because of the reputation and all that. I guess you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, for sure.
But so the thing is, when I went to Toronto, I also had like much more family. Like in Switzerland, I only have like two aunties, and in Scarborough, like all my my two grandparents were there, and my aunties and uncles and their children. And yeah, it did really feel more home, and I was able to speak more Tamil and go to Tamil events, go to Tamil soccer games. And yeah, that was a really important phase in my life.
Do you, because you love Toronto, do you see her hopefully coming on tour to do a show in Toronto?
Oh yeah, I would love that. Yeah. There was even a time when my parents wanted to move to Toronto.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That was, I don't know, 10 years ago. But nah, I really love Toronto, and it would be amazing to come on tour.
Do you think if you didn't grow up in Switzerland, like say you grew up in New York City or like LA or like you say even London, do you think your music career would have that trajectory of like how like obviously everyone knows who you are now, but do you think you would have been like a bigger star even quicker, or do you think everything just kind of maybe being in Switzerland kind of helped you figure yourself out because you talked a lot about not being confident, not really sure about your music talent, and being
Yeah.
in Switzerland kind of lets you experiment slowly, or do you think if you were in like a place like New York or LA, you would have
I
blown up
feel
faster?
like I feel like it already happened very quick.
Mm,
It was just on me if I was ready. Like I wasn't ready.
mm.
So it didn't matter like where I was living. I had to be internally ready for this step. And it took me a long time, yes, but um, I I don't know if that would have been different if I would have, you know, been raised up in New York.
Mm. I feel like luck is a part of any person's success story.
Yeah,
And, on the bigger level and globally, there's kind of a trend towards more diverse music. So like, having, a lot of mixture in like, music styles or cultures. Do you feel like, there's a more of affinity towards, like I heard this from Janssen actually. So Janssen's kind of dream is, just like people, sing along to like Spanish music or like other kinds of languages. He would love to kind of see in the future someone like yourself, where you're singing, part of your song is in Tamil, part of your song is in English, but people are like singing along to both parts. They're like learning both. And yeah,
that
do
would
you
be so
feel
sick. Yeah.
that'd be sick? So like, do you feel like the global trends of moving towards more ethnic music being weaved into mainstream music also played a part in kind of your kind of rise to popularity, where like you obviously like when you listen to your music you can kind of see elements of like Tamil like beats, or like there's you can kind of hear it, or at least maybe it's just me. So do you feel like
Of course, yeah.
that big trend is also helping you become successful as well?
I think, yeah, definitely. I feel like it was the right timing. Like if I would have come up with this music 10 years ago, I'm not sure if people would have been ready for it. So I definitely think it all came together, and it was the right timing for me to release music and to merge both of these worlds into whatever I do, you know.
Do you hear because I hear it, I've heard one of your songs, and obviously it's like the natural thing to think of, but I thought of M.I.A right away, like similar, that particular song. I think it was, I forgot which one it was, but
Chicken
it's,
Lemon
yes, I think that's what it was, where like it just, when I heard there was a certain part of the song, I heard it, I was like, wow, she sounds like M.I.A. But do you get that a lot, or like, how do you feel if you get that comparison? Are you like, I want to be my own person, or like, are you happy you get that comparison?
No, I feel really honored when people come up to you like, hey, you remind me of MIA. But they mean it more like visually than musically, because I feel like musically it's different.
Mhm.
Um, but aesthetically, I think we're, you know, I feel like we're on the same page. So I feel really, really honored.
Is there like a musician or like musicians out
Yeah,
there that
MIA.
do you want to collaborate with? You want to collaborate with her? Okay.
Yeah, definitely MIA. Other than that, probably D. That
Oh
would be
yeah, yeah,
cool.
that'd be cool.
Or Ganavia.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you know her?
I don't know. I
Yeah,
haven't heard of her. Okay, I'll
yeah,
take a
yeah.
look at that. Um, how do you feel about like the independent Tamil music scene? Like, you know, you have people like Janssen, you have um, Vincent DePaul as well, like a few others that kind of,
Yeah.
you know, cropping up. D. Like, how do you like? What's your like general stance or like feeling about the Tamil music scene, especially the independent? I call it independent because it's kind of outside of like Chennai or like kind of, you know,
Yeah.
that genre of music. It's like a bit more mainstream. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's really, really beautiful to see um, these Tamil people come up with their own type of music and their own style. And each one of them, are their own character. So it's really, really amazing to see that everybody is raising at the same time, and blowing up.
Yeah, I agree. I'm
So
looking
I
for.
really, I really wish if we could do an event one day where all the Tamil musicians come together and have like a festival or something in Jaffna. That would be so sick.
Yeah, I think A.R. Rahman is doing something with Join or Magi. I don't know if you've heard of them, but like
I've heard about it, but what are they doing exactly?
I think their plan is to do exactly what you're saying, but I think it's supposed to be in Chennai, where you have like, you know, like people like D and a bunch of
Ah, okay.
others come
Yeah, yeah,
together. So it might be something you might be, who knows, maybe you'll be a headliner there, if they actually go ahead with the event.
yeah.
Um, you know, we
Is the
talked about,
event really happening?
I believe so. I just don't know when, because obviously because of COVID and what's happening in India, not
Sure, yeah.
sure when things will kind of get
Yeah.
figured out. But that'd be cool. Or maybe they'll move it to Toronto. We'll see.
Yeah, okay.
We talked a lot about kind of your work and kind of, you know, you as a musician. But what do you like to do, you know, Priya, outside of work? Yeah, what do you do for fun?
What I do for fun. I love to Thai box. I'm not good at it, but but it feels good when I do sports and kick some asses. Uh, other than that, I love to meditate. It's a part of my life. I wake up, I meditate like 30 minutes every day. Um, I watch a lot of like spiritual satsang, Q&As with, different spiritual teachers. I'm really into that. Um, what else?
Is that more recent, or is that like you've always been a spiritual person?
I think it was always been like that, but I feel like recently when the whole music thing started, it was everything at the same time. Like, I was working on myself and reading and listening to podcasts and writing songs at the same time. So it was it came all together, the music and the spirituality.
Hmm. What's an insecurity that you have?
Insecurity that I have. I'm not sure.
So
Let me think.
you must be a confident person if you don't have an insecurity that pops up.
No, I have so many. I don't know
Uh,
which one to tell. Probably. Well, wait a second. I have to think about it. My insecurities.
I want
I
to ask.
guess interviews. Probably. I don't always feel like comfortable giving interviews.
Hmm.
There are days when I feel like, wow, I have a lot to tell. There are other days where I feel like, man, I feel like I'm repeating myself all the time. But yeah, I guess giving interviews,
That's
especially live ones. Yeah.
well, this is recorded, luckily. But even myself, like actually, when I started the podcast, I didn't want to do it. It was something outside my comfort zone. I would say I'm more introverted than extroverted. Like I'm
Yeah.
probably in the middle. But this is like, I've recorded a bunch now. So like each one, I've got more comfortable. Just, I ask a ton of questions normally in real life, but typically when I talk to somebody, especially someone like that's, famous like yourself, or you might not see yourself that way, I typically
No,
get nervous,
yeah.
but now it's kind of like second nature. But you don't seem,
But
your interview was good so far. So
oh, cool, cool. I'm glad. But how did you overcome that fear or
just
insecurity?
the thing I tell myself is to be comfortable doing uncomfortable things, you got to just do uncomfortable things. So like
Yeah.
I hate public speaking. I still haven't done it, but this is like the first step, I think, because right
Yeah.
now it's kind of like public speaking where I'm talking to you, and obviously,
True.
and I know Luke's listening too, but like it's like when I have to talk in front of 100 people, I don't know what it is. I just feel like they're all thinking something negatively, like, hey, this guy doesn't speak
Yeah.
well, or like this guy, his hair is messed up. I don't know, like just something. Those thoughts are in my mind, and I'm not confident.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
I agree with you.
But I feel like we all have that, no? Everybody has that.
I feel like some people, even if they have it, they show it less. Like if I'm
Yeah.
nervous, I'm nervous, especially public speaking. I'm not nervous typically talking to people one on one, but when I have to
Yeah.
talk in front of 100 people, I stumble. I sound like an idiot. I feel like, but
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, I did a TED Talk in 2019.
okay.
And so we had a rehearsal like a day before, and there were like coaches there, but with no audience. So I had to do the speech. And in the middle of the speech, I had a blackout. And I was like, wait a second. And then it was just very awkward.
Hmm.
And I was telling the coach, maybe we should skip the talking. I just sing.
Well, at least you did it though. You did it though.
Yeah, the coach was like, hey, you can do it. Just give yourself time. And I gave myself time and it didn't come. And I was like, oh, no, I just want to disappear. And then, but the next day, I was on that stage and it was just so different with audience because they were giving me energy. And so it was really like having a conversation with the audience. So that made me more comfortable.
So how are you gonna feel when you have to start touring, like with like
I'm
thousands of people?
I don't know. Actually, in Switzerland, I was just performing in front of a really small audience.
You're not gonna
So
have
this
small
is
audiences anymore.
no, no, things are starting to open up, and I'm playing at festivals in Switzerland. Jazz Festival Montreux is like one of the biggest festivals in Switzerland. So I'm playing there next month. So wish me luck.
Yeah, good luck. I think you'll kill it. Um,
Yeah, thank you.
what would you tell 16-year-old Priya if you had a chance to sit down with her face to face?
I would tell her be patient because everything will make sense at the end and you will be proud of me.
I like that. See, more confident. In
Yeah.
terms of your personal legacy, like how would you want, I'm always fascinated by this. Like how would you want your friends and family to remember you?
Probably something very simple as a good person, maybe. Somebody who's more of a giver, like helped out the community. And I want to do a lot of community work, but I still have to figure out in which direction I want to go and how I can combine it with music. So I feel like music is a God's gift and we have to give back.
Yeah, it's an interesting comment about God's gift because the thing about any kind of art, like especially music, is you could be long gone 100 years from now, and somebody could still be hearing your voice, your spirit through your music, which is pretty cool when you think about that.
Right. That's
Uh,
sick, yeah.
um, who's somebody from the global Tamil community that you admire and why? And who's maybe somebody that isn't Tamil that you admire and why?
Somebody that I admire who isn't Tamil is Snoh Alegra. Do you know her?
No,
She's
I
a
don't.
soul singer from Sweden, and I just love her music and her whole vibe. And yeah, she made it really big in the last, I think, 2 years. And I just love the way she is, the way she gives interviews, the way she presents herself. And sometimes I want to be her.
You're on the way.
Yeah. And in the Tamil community that I really admire is M.I.A, of course, because I just feel like everything she has done for the Tamil community is so, um, I really admire that because not everybody can be so outspoken like she is, and fearless.
Yep.
Even if the whole world is against you, she's like standing there and fight for our rights, and I think that's so powerful.
Yeah, I was a fan of MIA in her music, but I became a fan of her as a person when I saw her documentary. I think it was
Yeah.
a couple years ago, and like you got to really kind of see just kind of what she believed in, who she was a person. Like, yeah, like more than like as a musician, I like really became a fan of her as a person just because, like you said, how fearless she is of kind of speaking up, even though that could potentially lead to loss of opportunities,
Right.
and especially in the field that she's in. I mean, things are
Yeah.
changing now where I think if she was who she was now, I think she would have less of a
Right.
problem. So
Definitely. Yeah.
she unfortunately came. She was an outspoken musician in the wrong period of time versus like now
Hmm.
she would be more celebrated.
Yeah.
So yeah, huge fan of hers. What's a piece of advice that you would give to your fellow Tamil creators out there? Maybe you can start off with like a general piece of advice and then maybe something a bit more targeted towards maybe somebody specifically in music.
Um, I don't really feel like that I'm in a position to give advice because I'm still learning and still, you know, I just started this musical journey recently, and I feel like I'm still trying to figure it out myself. But the advice that I got was just do it, and whatever it is, don't overthink and just create without questioning it or without doubting yourself. And don't limit yourself. I mean, growing up, you always see these superstars talking about believe in yourself, but believing in yourself is so powerful, and it's much more than you think it is, and it's much more than words. So yeah.
I love it. It's almost like you're saying quality comes from quantity, especially when you're doing creative stuff, right? Like you have to produce a lot of stuff.
Exactly. Yeah.
Love it. And that's kind of a good segue kind of into the last part of the interview, which is a game that I like to call Creator Confessions. Basically, I'm going to say a bunch of statements, and you're going to kind of say the first thing that kind of comes to mind. Sound good?
One word.
No,
Okay.
just no, not one word, just like a short answer. It's meant to be kind of a speed round.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah.
All right. Favorite Tamil food?
Roti.
Something that scares you?
um Bad spirits.
Favorite show that you're watching?
um King of Queens. I just love it. I can watch it again and again.
So random. I never. That's like one of those shows you don't hear that often about.
Yeah.
Favorite Tamil movie?
I would say Repa. Yeah.
Good choice. A place you're itching to travel to after the pandemic is over?
Jamaica.
A, fe- a fellow Tamil creator that you want to give a shout out to?
I want to give a shout out to Ganavia
Okay.
for her healing voice. You should definitely check out her music.
I'm going to definitely check it out.
Yeah.
Favorite childhood memory?
Jam sessions with the family. my mom like frying, chicken. How do you say? No, wait a second. What was it? Arterechi
Yeah.
in the kitchen while we were like playing music.
Pet peeve.
I hate when people flip with their toes.
Flip with their toes?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay. That's so
The
random.
sound of it.
That is so random. Okay.
That's very detailed, yeah.
What's your favorite song of all time?
Oh my God. There's so many.
Gotta pick one? A gun's on your head? You gotta pick one.
Okay. Probably Bombay theme song from A.R. Rahman.
Okay. If you knew you were gonna die tomorrow, a regret that you would have.
Regret that I have. Actually, I don't have any regrets. I'm fulfilled at the moment.
Love it. Love that answer. What does Tamil culture mean to you?
Tamil culture is, a part of me, of who I am. And I feel like, it has to be represented through my music and through my art and whatever I do.
A celebrity whose life you'd want to experience for one day.
Will Smith.
Why Will Smith?
Because I feel like he has this perfect family and this amazing house and everything, and he's so easygoing and very knowledgeable and everything.
Maybe one day you'll get to meet him.
Wow, that would be amazing. I will let you know.
You get to meet the Fresh Prince. And finally, a public service announcement that you want to leave our audience with. Just a final thought or thoughts.
The final thought is I'm coming up with an amazing project, which is going to drop very, very soon. So stay tuned and watch me grow.
Yeah. So this project, when is it? You're saying it's coming out soon. When is it coming out?
I can't tell you exactly the date, but
Okay.
Definitely this year.
Okay. Looking forward to that. You're tired. You got back from your quarantine. You're on your quarantine. You suffered through just under an hour of my questions. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thanks. It was super fun to talk to you.
Thank you. Yeah, I know you had some awesome answers. I got to learn a bit more. I didn't even know there was a Good Love 1.0. So now I know I can share that story or share the story here.
Cool.
And it was really awesome, like just chatting with you. So yeah, before we kind of leave off, if people want to connect with you, I mean, it might be a bit hard. I guess is Instagram the best way to reach out to you if they want to just show love?
Definitely. Yeah, Instagram, Priya Ragu official is where I share all my information, and you can connect with me directly on Instagram. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Priya. And for those of you listening, thank you guys for tuning in. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. It was a blast talking to Priya. And we'll see you on the next episode.
Yay!
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.